Welcome to History Through Games, and joining me as always, Dr. Scout Blum, who teaches History Through Games as a class, which is what inspired this whole program to start up. And today we are going to be playing, let's see, right here, the Manhattan Project. So you know the Manhattan Project, we're going to be building bombs, but don't worry, Scout, we're not blowing anybody up today,
Yeah,
right?
I was a little worried about you having a hold of atomic weapons, but we'll see how that works.
And so to give folks a little bit of background about why we do this show, you teach a class called History Through Games, and it uses games to teach lessons through history and various different aspects associated with the games and educational value through these games. And for instance, so tell us what this would work.
So this is obviously about the Manhattan Project, which was the program of the U.S. government to develop the atomic bomb during World War II. So, you know, what we would talk about during this unit would be sort of how science was used to create the bomb. But also importantly, it leads into discussions of why the bomb was used and the effects of using the bomb. So we get into sort of deeper discussions, and we'll be talking about that as we go through the game, but it's sort of built into a discussion of World War II and the use of these weapons and the effects of these weapons as well.
And as obviously, you know, and it's not 100% historically accurate,
well, no,
but it's fun. And
right.
but that's the goal of this class, right, is to show through fun lessons and what you can take away from it.
Right, and you know, these are board games, so you know,
Of course.
we don't expect them to be accurate and completely realistic. The point of using these board games is to get the kids engaged in some of these issues, but to also have them sort of think about, you know, why did the game designer put this element in and not this element in? And so it really gets them thinking critically about a lot of different things. And can get them talking about historical memory, which is an important thing when you talk about this game. How do we think about the bomb now, you know? And so we can think about what choices the game designers made and what that means for us as we're studying and looking at these games. So.
And including maybe glossing over some aspects, which is something as being a history professor you would know, that sometimes we forget some of the grimier details of history.
Well, sure, exactly. You know, so, and not only that, but I think one of the things that a lot of games don't do is they don't think about the cause and the effect. You know, you have a game here about the building the atomic bomb, but you don't sort of think about what comes after that. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, well, let's talk about the game here itself. And as a Manhattan Project, we're building bombs. So if you can kind of give us maybe an overview of what we're looking at here on the board, Scout, so we can get involved and jump into the game. So.
Sure. Okay. So this is what's called a worker placement game, and it's a really neat, fun little game. Worker placement games mean that you have tokens or workers. You hear them called meeples sometimes, but the workers are right. They're alongside the board. But you use the workers, your tokens, to sort of indicate what actions you're going to take. And depending on where you put them on the board here, it will give you certain benefits or advantages or payouts, I guess. So the workers do things for you, which is why it's called a worker placement game. So in this game, we've got two boards. We've got the main player board, and then each of us has our own boards. The game is set in post-World War II. And basically, we are competing nations, and we are in the arms race to try to build the most atomic weapons.
So shifting into the Cold War era there.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes. And so the goal of the game is to produce and load onto a bomber a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
And that's the only way you get points in the game, so there's this one set goal, but there are a lot of ways to go about doing that and a lot of different elements in the game. So here are the bombs up here, the bomb cards, and they have an indication of the point value of, you know, when you finish that bomb, what points you're going to be getting. These are all uranium bombs. Some of the bombs are plutonium bombs, and so they're a little different. But what the cards up here show you is the cost for building this bomb. So, you know, these little faces, they're plane workers. These are scientists with the little goggles on, and they have little lab coats. And then we also have construction workers. So there are different, well, as we go through, we'll sort of talk about this, but there are different costs for building each of these bombs. And to get to these costs, you have to do things. So there are steps to get to building the bomb. let's see. So there are cards up here. These are buildings. And you're going to purchase those, and those are going to help you produce things. They might help you produce workers or bombers, or these little yellow squares are yellow cake, which helps you produce the plutonium and uranium you need to create the bombs. Some of them
Yellow
help you
cake
with
being
money.
a radioactive material, not
That is
what
sitting
you
on the
not,
table.
not what you would have for a birthday party. So yeah,
Exactly.
so-
Yes. So, I mean, overall, that's about it. I mean, your goal is to work through some of these preliminary steps to get the materials to be able to make these bombs and load them onto a bomber.
Well, then I say let's get on into it, and then we'll maybe discuss some of the elements as we get on. But
Okay.
we're going to have limited time, and I think it takes a little bit of time to build an atomic weapon.
It kind of does. It kind of does.
So, Scout, let's let you let's start
Let me
things
say
off
too,
about
real
this.
quick.
Yeah?
There are some ways to kind of sabotage the other player.
Sabotage.
Yes, sabotage. So we have at the top of our player decks, we have like counters for fighters and bombers. You can be at the bottom. You can leave the bottom too. So your fighters are your defense mechanisms for, you're going to put your buildings down here on your board, and your buildings sort of become your little atomic village, basically.
Okay.
And the fighters are your defense. The bombers are going to help you bomb the other person if you want to. And so you can do that by putting your workers on the airstrike.
Oh.
And then there's also a mechanism, which is kind of cool and historical, of the spy, of espionage. So you can put your token, your person here, and it will give you spies. Now what these spies can do is they allow you to put a worker into someone else's building and take the benefits from that building. So,
And does that work at the same time as you're getting the benefit as well? Is it dual benefit, or do you steal the benefit?
You steal it.
You steal it. Okay. All right.
so you kind of take it from the person who's
Good to
doing
know,
it. So
good
there
to know.
are some ways to kind of try to trip up the other player as well. Okay.
All right.
Do you want me to go first? Or
You
do
can go first.
Okay, so the
you're
second-
the expert, so let's do this.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think I've ever won a game that we played.
Well-
I think I've always been last.
Well, we'll see. So,
Okay, so the second player, because the first player kind of has an advantage in picking what they want to do,
Okay.
the second player gets 2 extra coins.
All right. So that works.
Okay, so I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a worker here so that, and if you can see the benefit of putting a worker right here, this is the university area, so it's talking sort of about how you develop talent and expertise, which of course is a necessary component.
Especially for those of us in the university community.
That's
so,
right,
exactly.
how valuable universities are. And so the benefit for that is that I would get a construction worker.
All
So
right.
I get an extra little person to help me.
So you get
thank you,
that
sir.
fresh worker right there.
Now, I could also place workers on my buildings to get whatever benefits I have, but I have no buildings yet,
Okay.
so I am done.
So you're done with your turn. Then.
I am
So
done with my
now,
turn.
you can place as many of your workers at one time, or can you only place one worker at a time?
You
So-
can place one on the board
Okay.
at a time.
Okay.
You can place as many as you want on whatever buildings you have.
So then the next thing is then now it's my turn, so I've got to
Correct.
make a decision on what to
And,
do.
and so the player's choices are you can place workers or you can retrieve workers.
all right.
So obviously you'd want to place them since you
I'm
don't
gonna
have anyone
place-
down. So you need
place
to
them
figure
with-
out what direction you want to
Now
go.
now let's talk about these cards at the top and what the options I have there. Can I purchase one of these cards on my turn as well? So
Absolutely, yes. So that would require you to put somebody in the construction
Okay,
space. That
okay.
would be your placing worker mode. And then you would have to come up here and say, okay, so I want this one. This one costs 7 coins. So I'm going to, pay my 7 coins and get that mine.
But I would need the construction worker to do that, correct? So,
Correct. Well,
all right.
you could put any worker here,
Okay.
but you would have to pay either 2 coins or a construction worker to get that.
Okay.
building.
So and that would be my placement on that point for that one. So
Yes.
all right. So then let me see what I can do. So if I go, let's say I'm gonna do this. How about I go with and that gives me 3 of the I guess the contract laborers here.
Yes.
So
there are
I
some
get
that are not
1, 2
colored
They're
and-
not colored. So these guys right here on this
They're
side.
contract labor.
Contract labor. So that gives me more to use at some point later on down the road. So
Yes.
Okay.
Once you start getting your buildings.
All right. So I guess that's my turn then. So
Okay.
okay.
So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my construction worker, and I'm going to put him here, and I'm going to take the factory.
All right.
Okay, so once a building is taken, what happens is all of these get moved down to the left, right?
to the
To this
right,
way.
is it left to the screen, right to us. So
everybody gets moved down this way, and then we
another card
put
is turned
another
over.
card over.
All right.
So there's kind of a risk of do you want to wait, or see if they move down a little bit to get cheaper, as the cheaper ones are way down here on this end and the more expensive ones are down here. There's also, we were talking about this, but there's sometimes some little red dollar signs, and what those indicate is that to get those you have to pay a bribe. And so the bribe of 1 money goes here. So everybody starts off with 10 money and 4 little workers. Okay. I don't remember if I can put a worker on a building that I've already just made, so we will have a house rule. You can't use a building
until next turn.
Until the next turn. All right.
Sounds good to me. All right, so now it's my turn then. So
yes.
All right, and now we're going to go to now for construction, if I place one of these workers here, then I can pay the purchase price for one of these buildings. Correct? Is that right?
Correct.
All right.
And
so
there can be any number of workers in there.
So so I'm going to take one of these contract laborers that I just purchased. I'm going to put him right there, and then I am going to let's see. I'm going to purchase that. Use my 2 coins there and purchase the university right there and place my university there, and then we're going to slide these down as you said there, and then we're going to turn up another card. Ooh.
I know some of them get
That's
a lot of.
So a lot of plutonium coming out of that one right there. So, all right. So there we go. And so.
Okay. So on my next move, I believe that I'm going to go back to the university, and I'm going to get a scientist. I think.
All right. So you need
little
a
crazy bald scientist with big glasses. Okay. Oh, and I can now put. Let's see. So for the buildings, I put my glasses on since I can't see. So for the buildings, they'll have a price to be able to use them in people normally, and you can see up here. So if it has a little question mark, that just means you can put anybody worker
on it, so
you want.
If
it has one of these, then, right,
gotcha.
construction workers. Okay. So and I'll put him on here, and that can give me either 2 more money or a bomber. And I think this time I'm going to take 2 more money.
That seems like a good call, since we haven't gotten into the offensive portion of the game quite yet.
We haven't started killing each other yet.
Yes. And this is a continual payout, correct? Like every turn you can get whatever the output of that building is.
As long as you have workers to put on there.
You
absolutely.
got it. So, all right, so
now I can't use that in the next turn because I've already got somebody on there until I retrieve him.
Okay, so it's only at one time. So you put a worker on, you get it out of it there. So okay, I understand. Gotcha. So.
But once I retrieve him, that building will be open up again, and then I can use it.
And then you can put
again.
somebody back on it again.
Right.
So, all right. So now it is my turn, and so what I think I'm going to do this time is, since I've got a little bit of extra money, I'm going to put. I'll go to the university. I'm going to put my worker here, and that has a 3 on it, which means I have to pay a little bit of money. So I'm going to pay my 3, and then I, too, am going to get a scientist.
Right, so you can get either one.
Yes, so that one I can get a scientist or a construction worker. So I'm going to put that there, but since I can get a construction worker from my university here, I'm going to put that there, and then be able to retrieve a construction worker as well, correct? I'm doing that correctly?
Yes.
So there.
Okay,
All right.
excellent.
So there we go. So now our university is filled to capacity. So
always good for a university.
yeah, it is. It really is. It really is.
we want full enrollment.
It helps pay the bills there. So
That's
all
right.
right. So
okay, so let's see. I think that I will purchase another building. So I'm going to put a worker on the construction. And I think I want this mine here, so I'm going to pay 5 for the mine. Oops. And take him. Now there are 3 different kinds of cards. There's factory, mines, and universities, and they each sort of give you different benefits.
All right, that reactor slides down a little bit.
I know.
And
I
then
like
an
that
enrichment
reactor.
plant there. So, all right.
Oh, that's a pretty heavy cost with
It is 3 scientists.
three
there,
scientists.
so.
I believe I'm done.
All right. So now we're kind of looking at what our options are. And so I'm going to go early on here and do something because I have a construction worker and a scientist here. So what I can do is if I put that on bomb design, we can go into the bomb design element of this. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my scientist and my construction worker on bomb design. And so now this triggers the bomb design part of this. And you
Right.
mentioned this earlier. So I'm going to pick these up.
You're going to pick the whole pile up,
Pick the
and what
whole
you're going to
pile
do
up.
is secretly take one of the cards and then place it face down so that I don't know which one you have.
All right.
And then you're going to pass that whole deck to me. I'm going to pick one, and then you are going to take the last one. So you get 2 cards out of it because you're the one who spent the resources, but I get 1 card.
All right.
And then we put, I'll go ahead and just do that. We put 3 more down.
Okay, put 3 more.
Oops.
And then I put those down to you.
And then I pick one, and then I give one back to you.
All right. All right.
All right, so keep those down. And the only time you turn it over is when you're able to pay for
Okay.
it so that people can see it. Again, we're secret research facilities here.
All right, and I think that's it for me since I don't have any other buildings here. So.
Okay. So I am going to come over here to the factory. I'm going to send my scientists over here, and we are going to do 2 fighters. I'm going to start
All right.
building up my defense because I think you're kind of mean and ruthless. And
Well, that's quite a possibility there. So. All right, so now
So I'm done, 'cause
you're
I don't
done.
have
You don't have
anything
any other
else.
workers. So, all right, so now we are here to my turn, and I'm looking at what our my possibilities are here, and I think what I'm going to do at this point will be just kind of looking around at what we have out there on the board to be able to do.
So you can't really do airstrike. You don't need to do repairs.
Repair at this point. So probably going to go back in. We're going to do some build up here about that. I'm going to do more construction. So I'm going to place my worker there, and then I'm going to look and see. And as much as I might like that yellow cake, I think I'm going to stick with the university for right now, and I'm going to pay 2 for the university and get a university right here. So we can do that. Slide it down. There we go.
I haven't paid any
And
bribes.
so we're good.
Okay, so I have used all of my workers. So at this point, my 2 choices are place a worker or retrieve workers. I can't place a worker anymore because I
Yes.
don't have anybody to place. So now what I'm going to be doing is retrieving all of my workers. So I'm going to take all of them. Now, if I had like you have some of these independent contractor guys, they would go back into the general pile. You don't get to keep
Yes.
those. But I'm just going to take all of my purple people off the table.
All
and
right.
that's my turn. That's all I can do.
All right.
So now it's your turn.
So now it's back to my turn. So
Correct.
I'm going to do 2 things here. I'm going to place I'm going to get another construction, and then I'm going to get a scientist there, and that would be my turn for this time around.
Okay, so in the scientist you got from putting your worker down on the university. Okay, very good.
yes.
All right, so what do I want to do? I think, I do have my construction worker. I think I am going to, I will put my construction worker on the mine, and I will get 2 yellow cake.
All right. There we go. Is that all you're going to do? You're going to do...
Why don't I do this? Let's see. I will put a worker down on the factory and get 2. Well, no, why don't I go ahead and get 1 bomber? And then I will put, I think I'll finish there.
Okay. All right. So we've got that. So now we're on a turn and see. So my I'm looking at right now, I've got my scientist, I've got my construction worker, and so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my construction worker on the construction, which means I don't have to pay
Correct, for those
either
two.
of those two, and then I'm going to get the factory right here, that card there, and I think that exhausts my turn. And then we got to slide all the cards back down
Right.
again. So we're starting to slowly get these big cards sliding down to the cheaper spots there. So then another factory. So there we go.
All righty.
And I think this may be as good a time as any to bring up the fact that we're playing a game called the Manhattan Project, and there is a Troy connection to the Manhattan Project.
Absolutely.
A lot of people may not realize that Edward.
To the nuclear
Or
weapons.
to the nuclear weapons, the nuclear race, the atomic race,
Yes.
and that was that Edward Teller, who was
Father of the
of
hydrogen
bomb, spent some time here back
He
in the
did.
70s and the 80s, doing some teaching and just
Came to
being here on
talk
campus,
and- yep.
and I believe he even spoke at some commencements here around here. So that it adds an interesting connection to playing a game about the atomic race and having a connection here with the university. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean, I don't think people realize that Teller was here for a while, which is pretty prestigious to think about.
So in that same regard, we're going to go on to the next turn. So we'll then have the opportunity to build some bombs ourselves here. So it's your turn. So.
Okay, so I am going to. I kind of want another construction worker, but you are holding me up in that regard. So I think I'm going to think toward the future, and I will, let's see, build some more defense. 2 more fighters.
All right. Is that your turn?
And yeah, I'll get some uranium.
All right.
So it's 2. Oh, I'm sorry, yellow cake.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, off you go.
All right, so now it is my turn, and so as I'm looking around the board, my options are getting kind of limited in what I can or can't do here. So I'm looking. So here's what I think I'm going to do this turn. I'm going to open this thing up, and I'm going to retrieve my workers on this turn. So I'm going to pull everybody off. My contract workers will go back to their homes. Let's see, is that me there? Yes. There. I believe I've got all of my workers back here, and I believe that puts it back to you.
Excellent. Okay, so I am going to start getting ready with my fuel, and I'm going to enrich some yellow cake to make uranium. So I'm going to put my scientist down here. I have to pay 3 coins and 2 2 yellow cakes, and 3 coins. And then what I do to show that I've done that is I move my marker up 1 on this little counter here. So it tells me how much fuel I have.
Okay. All right. So, and now do you get the yellow cake back whenever you do that? It's spent
It's
now.
spent.
So, okay.
It's
So,
turned into something else.
all right. So now it's back to my turn, and let's see. I can, and you said can I place as many on these as possible? Is that what you said on my cards? All right. So cool. So then what I'm going to do first is I'm going to place a worker on the mine there, which means I get 3 yellow cake and you get 1 yellow cake. So
there you are.
there we go. And then also then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a construction worker, a scientist, and then I'm going to get 2 2 coins there for that. So I'm going to get my construction worker and my scientist there and there. All right, and that would exhaust my turn.
Very good.
All right.
Okay, I'm out of workers, so I need to take everybody off. I need some more workers. All right, your turn. That's all I can do.
All right, so now for me, I'm looking at my options here. So I'm going to go to, let's see, got that, some money there. Well, you just cleared the board for me to be able to.
I know. Sometimes
to be able to
too
do
many
some things. So
choices.
yeah, well, I mean, I need to catch up in the uranium race with you. So that's what I'm going to do here. Is I'm going to place a scientist, 2 yellow cake, and then I pay 3. So I'm going to need some
want two back.
change from the banker over there. So
There you go.
cool. All right, and then that puts me right back up there with you in the uranium race. So, and that concludes my turn.
Okay. So I think I'm going to put a worker here and get a construction worker.
All right, there's your construction worker.
Thank you. And I'm also going to put a worker here so that I can get 2 more coins. And I'll go ahead and put a worker, well, I'm gonna leave it at that, I think.
All right, so that's you there.
Yes.
All right. So, all right, so this next turn, I am going to pull out my scientist and my construction worker again. We go to bomb design and do, because I can do that. I can do that, right? And we're going to do this again. So then I'm going to pull up the cards, and let's see. I'm going to get. Going to pick that one. I'll let you pick.
I will try for this one.
All right. So there we go. All right. So we got the bombs up there, and then that would be the end of my turn.
Okay, very good. So I have 2 bombs that I need to be thinking about. It's just going to confuse me more.
I've got 4 bombs to be thinking about over here. So.
Okay, so I think I'm going to.
By the way, we should point out that the goal is to hit a target number, the
Yes,
number of points. and
depending
that's
on
what
how
the
many
bombs
players you
we
have.
And we kind of decided before this started, due to time limitations, that we're going to be playing to 45 points. Did we say that correctly? Yeah. So
Yes.
45. So the first one of us to 45 wins and decimates the other
And
opponent.
generally,
there, so.
it's between like 2 to 4 bombs to win.
Yes.
So it just sort of, but it depends on how many players are playing. The fewer players, the higher points. We're actually playing for 45, which is the total for 5 players.
5 players, so.
But just because
Due
we
to
didn't-
time limitations.
due to time. Oh wait, we need to turn over our bomb cards.
All righty.
Okay. So I have.
And we are
1,
introducing some
2,
plutonium
4.
bombs into the works here.
That's right.
But it does. The plutonium bombs have a kind of different way to work. We can briefly talk about this right here because there's two score options there because it's a testing and a non-testing option. Correct. So.
Correct. So if you complete one of the plutonium bombs, because you don't quite know what plutonium bombs are going to do, you want to figure them out.
Yes.
So when you test a plutonium bomb, you have to complete it like you regularly would and pay whatever price you have to pay. And then you're going to test it. And so you would take the card and just discard it, put it on the bottom of the bomb pile. And then you would get this marker that indicates that you have successfully tested a bomb. And that's a good thing because it indicates higher levels of reliability, and so you get some extra points. So the thing is, you kind of trade off. You're not going to get the points from the bomb, but you're going to get this extra points here, and any other plutonium bombs that you buy, you get the
higher score of the two of them.
higher score, exactly.
All right. And now it's back to your turn. So
It is back to
now
my
that we've
turn.
explained plutonium bombs to everyone, so
Always something you need to know. Okay, so I think I'm going to get another scientist here. Oops, sorry.
Yes.
Another one of my bespectacled fellows, and then bespectacled. And then I'm going to put a couple of workers on. Do I need to use these guys for something? I'm going to put these couple of workers here to get some more yellow cake.
All right. Okay, back to my turn now. So here's what we're going to look at right here. I'm going to look at the options we have on the board, and so therefore I'm going to put my construction worker here to get 2 yellow cake there. So cool.
And that's all you can do,
and that's
right?
all I can do right now. So
Okay. I am going to, I think
a lot of options out there.
I know. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and I think I will do an airstrike.
All right.
So I'm going to put my engineer, well, I'll put my scientist over here, and the airstrike. So when you do an airstrike, what you need to do is make sure that you have more fighters than your opponent. And Aaron, you have no fighters.
I have no fighters.
No defense whatsoever.
I'm completely defenseless over here.
So my bomber's going to come in and bomb one of your buildings, and I'm just going to move that bomber back because I've used him. So now I'm going to go back to 0. And then I'm going to put a damage token on your building. I will put it on this guy.
All right.
So the penalty now is you can't use that until you have repaired the building.
Okay.
But the worker is fine.
The worker's fine. He got out of the building in time.
Yes.
So understood.
Well,
understood.
he got to his air raid shelter.
Yes.
So, and the directions actually say that the worker is safe. He doesn't get killed. Okay, so I think I'm done.
All right, so I'm looking at my options now, and now I could repair my building if I wanted to with 5. The only downfall is I do not have 5 coins in my possession right now. So, so I'm looking around the board at my options. I could pay 3 yellow cake to get that to repair it. But looking at my other option on the board, do I need to repair that right now, or should I look at some other options on the board for me here? And I'm thinking what I might do here at this point is yes, it's very, very interesting on what the options are. I think I'm going to clear my workers at this point. So it may seem like it's kind of out of the blue, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to clear my workers so that I can open up my possibilities for later. So that yellow cake is spent, so it's there. I believe all my workers have been removed, so we're good to go. So now it is your turn.
Okay, very good. So what I am going to do is I'm going to, let me see, I think I'm going to try to get some more uranium. So I'm going to put my scientist, 2 yellow cake, and pay 3 coins. And that's going to move me up on that scale, oops, a little bit.
All right.
I can't put anything else on any of my buildings here, so I am done.
So you're done. All right, so back to me. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my workers back on my universities here so that I can get another construction worker and a scientist. So I'll fill my complement there. And then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look on the board and see what my other options are here on the board. And so at this point, looking at what I have on the board, I need to figure out something that's going to help me. And what it's going to be is I'm going to spend my yellow cake to get 5 coins. So
there you
So
are.
I have a little bit of money, and that exhausts this turn right now. So there we go.
Very good. Okay.
Oh, do I have to put a worker there too, I guess? Does it have to be a worker and?
Yes.
Okay, so I have to put, okay.
I
there
think
we go.
so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. I was thinking.
And then you need to pay a bribe.
I do have to pay a bribe. So
So put the money right there.
yeah. So I have to pay you some money to get some money. So
Yeah,
all right.
well, that's
First
how it
bribe in there,
works.
so of course.
First bribe. Okay. I am going to let's see. I think I'm going to work on developing my bomber core, move that up to.
All right.
I can't do anything else, so.
There we go. All right, so now is my turn, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair my building there. So I paid
Okay.
my 5 to repair.
Right, and so you can remove up to 3 damage.
Up to
you just
3.
have 1.
I just
so
have
you can
1, so I'm
take-
going to remove that off of there. And so now we talked about how can I now activate? Can I use this now that it's repaired, or should I need to wait? Do I need to wait till the next turn?
I am not certain. Let's say that you can use it now.
All right, we'll use it. So then I'm going to put, I'll put my construction worker there for now, and then I'm going to do that. I'm going to get 2. I'm going to choose my option for 2. I know I'm leaving my defenses open, but we'll see how this works out in the long run. So, all right. So now it's your turn, Scout.
Yep, so I'm just going to take everybody off.
All right.
There we go.
All right. So now it's back to my turn again. And so at this point, I'm looking at what my options are. And let's see. 5. All right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my scientist here, and then I'm going to pay into the bribe, and that gives me 5, and you get 2 off of that. So it's
5
yeah,
coins.
5 coins, and you get 2.
That's very
as a
nice of you.
result. So yes, I'm just paying you out there. All right, and that's the end of my turn there. So
Okay. So one of the things I thought we might talk about with respect to the game,
yes,
certainly, and I see this in a lot of board games and card games, is that there's not sort of any consequences sometimes for the things that you do. So one of the things that we would talk about with the kids is sort of what the goals of the game are, and that can often tell you a lot about the game designer and what they were thinking and what they were leaving out. So the sole goal here is to build and load these bombs. And what's interesting about that is it sort of takes away that really rich sort of historical discussion about Truman and his decision to use the bomb, you know, and how he came to that and
Yes.
the reasons why he came to that. So there's no choice here of whether or not to make a bomb. You're going to make a bomb.
you have to make a bomb. So
But you know, so you kind of miss out on that very nuanced kind of ethical discussion about the bombs. I think too, another thing that you don't see is the effect. And what we see historically is that, you know, certainly from the testing of the hydrogen bombs that began, and subsequent massive amounts of fallout and all kinds of different things, you begin to get a lot of reaction from the public against nuclear weapons. Whereas when the bomb was dropped, you know, there was kind of this euphoria of, hey, we've done this, we've won the war, but coming up after that, what you also see is this real concern about the health effects of these weapons, not only for the people who are around the explosions, but worldwide. Because what people start to see is that fallout and nuclear material, radioactive material is
moving around. It can be carried through the air. It can flow through the oceans. And and we've seen that in recent years, not through bomb detonations, but through like reactor meltdowns and other accidents of that sort. You know, as recently as the Fukushima in Japan, where you started seeing some of that get out into the public and worry. So that all of this from the atomic age moving into what we are now. But once again, but you said the historical aspect is, you know, this also, though, I would say, and we talked about this earlier, this moves you into the Cold War. And this is, it kind of, to me, it's not necessarily the World War II buildup. This is more now of the start of the Cold War era, that I'm going to build these bombs, I'm going to build these bombs, and let's see the arms race. Let's see who can have the most bombs.
Absolutely.
And as a deterrent more than it is, because once again, you know, we're not blowing each other up necessarily in this game as to who can get the most bombs.
blowing
Well,
it up.
you blew up my factory, but
We're
but
not using the bombs.
You haven't dropped Fat Boy on me, so
No.
you know, so
And so, I mean, that's another interesting kind of discussion, that you have these bombs, but you're never actually using them in the
Yes.
game, right?
So
Again, it's kind of removing people from those kind of ethical sort of discussions and decision making that actually took place. So, I mean, I think it's interesting because once you start to see that fallout becoming more of a public issue, there's a huge public outcry. There are demonstrations in the streets in the early 60s. You have a group called Women Strike for Peace who are take these housewives, very neatly dressed. You know, you can sort of imagine 60s wives with their gloves on and everything. But they are protesting against these health effects, and had an enormous amount of success with Kennedy. He signed some agreements in 1962 to limit the bombs and limit testing. Rather, so you know, the game doesn't really play to that. I mean, there's no sort of aspect of what I think the game does really well. You mentioned is the spirit of sort of competitiveness, and we're trying to sort of beat each other out, and that's definitely the arms race.
My bombs are bigger than your bombs. I have more bombs. I have them in the right places. Yeah,
exactly. But what it doesn't do is sort of show you the effects of citizen outcry. You know, and that was scientists and medical doctors were, you know, joining that as well. But also, you know, policy and politics. You know,
well, and that ultimately is the goal of this class.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yes, you're playing a game, but it forces you to ask the questions and interject some of the lessons in there that hey, yeah, you're building a bomb, but what are the consequences? What surrounds it? And to me, which the whole reason why we keep doing this and bringing you on here for this is that how interesting that can be in the educational process.
Yes.
And you know, and even at the collegiate level, because you hear, and we've talked about this before when you've been on here, that for little kids, games and learning is something that in the elementary age is something they do, and it's a commonplace. It's a good way to learn. But you know, who would have thought an 18, 19-year-old could get the same effect from playing a game?
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I've mentioned this before, but you see a lot of very high-level sort of thinking when you're playing these games and getting them to make some connections to other material or to, you know, outside causes and effects or that kind of stuff. So I just see them as really useful.
Well, and not to mention, a lot of these games, including the ones that we've played here on the show, are very academic in their nature.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking chutes and ladders or Battleship here. I mean, there are some scientific and historical, you know, basis in all of these games. So it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of these games you're seeing come out nowadays have that kind of slant to them, which makes it, I guess, easier on you to have to find games to be able to play.
Well, I don't know if it's easier or harder, because there are a bazillion of them, and they're on every single topic imaginable. And you know, what's interesting is even if they're bad, they serve a good purpose, right? You know, you can get the kids talking about, well, how is this bad? How is it not historical? How is it, you know, why did they decide to do it that way? You know, I mean, you can certainly think, why did they decide to leave all of that ethical kind of decision making out? Well, you know, they probably thought, hey, this is a game.
It's a game. Not worry about that.
Let's not get people thinking about killing, murder.
There'll be a PR expansion day, so they could do that.
Well, they've got several expansions, which I'm anxious to play. Just kind of figure out what's going on.
Let's get back to Blum. It's your turn. So let's get you back to building some bombs. We are, but that's the point. We're teaching. We're educating.
We are. Okay, so I'm going to use one of my construction workers, and I'm going to build this guy.
All right.
And I think what I'm also going to do is use one of my workers in my factory to get 2 coins. And I will use a couple of workers in my mine to get 2 more yellow cake.
All right.
All right,
Your turn. So let's slide these back down here.
Yes.
So we're good here, and then we'll flip this next card up. And then ooh, that's a nice little card.
Look,
it's like, you know,
4 workers.
4 workers. So, all right. So now it's my turn. I'm looking at what my options are here on the board, and so I think
I need money.
Yeah, money is there's not a lot of options for money in this game.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing about this, that you, especially since you have to pay to get
do the uranium.
Yeah, and not to mention pay to get money. You know, unless you have one of the cards that outputs the money for you. So, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use my construction worker to, I'm going to use my construction worker here. And I'm going to get 3
Contract workers.
contract workers, because I'm thinking to the future here. So, and so, all right, so now I am done with my turn. There's nothing else I can do. So now it's back to
Okay.
you, Scout.
So, let's see. How many construction workers? I've got 2 construction workers. And 2 scientists? 2 scientists. No, I have 2 construction workers. All right, I am going to take one of my workers and I'm going to get another construction worker.
All right, so you got a construction worker there.
Thank you. And I think I will put 2 of my construction workers on my factory here to raise my bomber level up to.
Ooh, I think I know what she may be trying to do. And I still have no defense over here. So, and that is at the end of your turn there? Is that all you can do, right?
Yes, that's
So,
all I can do.
all right, so now we're back to me, and I'm looking around on the board and seeing what my options are. And so, looking. So, I will, looking and seeing. Now, at this point, my options need to start maybe going towards defense here, so I may need to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these guys on, actually no, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to build, and I'm going to get this, take that, the mine, slide that down there for my construction worker, and let's flip this up here. And we got a reactor there, so oops.
Well, now I'm
Saw
mad
that.
about using my construction workers here because I could have used them to get that guy.
That guy, yep. So,
Okay, I am going to go ahead and enrich some more yellow cake. So I'm going to pay 3. And is it 2 or 2?
2.
And then I'll move him up.
All right.
Can't do anything else because everybody's full.
All right. So now on my turn, I'm going to put a worker, 3 workers here to get 4 yellow cake. So 4. And then I am going to use my construction worker here to get the reactor. There. Let's slide that down. There. Oops. And
Upside down.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so that is my turn.
Okay. Let's see. There's my other scientist. Is he over there? I believe that I am going to do another airstrike.
All right.
You have no defenses against
No
me.
defenses against you.
I'm going to use all 4 of my bombers. So to give you 4 damage, 2 and 2, to your reactor.
All right. Before I even get a chance to use it.
Well, you know.
All right.
All right, your turn.
All right, so now it's back to my turn. So what I'm going to do now is looking around at my board, looking at my options out there, and I think what I'm going to do at this point is clear. So I'm going to remove my workers. There we go, yellow cake. There.
So your strategy so far seems to have been to get as many workers as you can. My strategy has sort of been trying to spread things around, but I think that your strategy of getting the more workers early as you can seemed to be.
Well, it gives you what I've figured in my strategy here so far is especially having the cards here. These seem to be a benefit, so I can pull. You know,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I have more flexibility in the things I can do.
Right.
With having a lot of workers early on.
Right.
So,
Okay, so all I did was retrieve all my workers. So
Okay.
you are your turn now.
So I'm good now. So so what I'm going to do now for this turn is, since it looks like I need to. All right. So what my best option might be at this point would be to
Just to quit.
Yes, just quit. I'm just going to give up.
You're going to join the peace movement.
You have done everything you can just to take me out of this. So what I'm going to do here is, all right. So I'm going to do the mine 1, 2,
and that's 4.
3. That's 4 that I can get there. So that's 4 on that, and then I'm going to put a worker here, and then pay my 5, and then take
That'll get rid of 3.
3, and so that puts that down to 1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go. And and then I'm going to do the rest of my stuff here too.
Where did
as
these
well.
3 come from?
Oh, I'll put them back. I think
Oh.
that was one that came off of when we cleared
Okay.
that right there. So, and then now with this, since I've
we have
gotten
loose yellow cake running
loose yellow
around.
cake, which was another problem in the back in the 80s. You know,
Certainly, one of the things that we haven't used that really
that was-
a part of it
yes.
was the spying. One of the interesting stories that I think, at the Potsdam conference, Truman had just tested the first successful atomic test, and so he at Potsdam, which was the peace conference to really end the European part of World War II, he had told Stalin, I have this big weapon, and Truman basically went back and said, I don't think he understood what I said, because Stalin didn't really react.
Yes.
He didn't oh my gosh, he didn't have any sort of shock. Well, the thing was, Stalin knew, so
Yes.
Because he had
the
spies
spies
there.
in there,
So
he knew how. So, by the way, I'm doing this.
Oh, sorry.
So at this point,
you're now a fighter.
I have a fighter, and I am going to get a scientist and a worker. Since I've exhausted my greens, these will be contract, I assume. So we'll pull
Yes,
the contracts
yes.
in there after this point. So, all right. So, and that will exhaust my turn at this point. So.
Very good. Okay, so I'm going to use one of my construction workers to get the enrichment plant,
And I'll slide those down.
and I will also put a worker on my factory so that I can get, I need a bomber, but I need money worse than I need a bomber. But I could also get a bomber, but that would be 2 construction workers. So I can't, our rules say we can't use him just yet. I could, I've got 3. I'm going to go ahead and enrich some more uranium.
All righty.
One more. Okay. I believe I'm done.
I think that's all you can do. All right, so now it's back to me. And so what I'm going to do on this turn is remove my workers.
All righty.
So pulling my workers back. So, I just dropped some yellow cake in my lap. So, all right, so now
We need to be
it's-
more careful with this yellow
I really
cake.
do. We're just throwing it around willy-nilly. So, all right, so now it's back to you, Scout.
Okay. So, what do I need? I think, let's see. Okay, so I need 2, I don't have my 2 scientists. I just have 1 scientist right now. I don't have yellow cake either. So I need some yellow cake. We're going to put 2 mines here, 2 workers there, and get 2 more yellow cake. I need some money. Money.
Money's hard to come by in this game.
It is hard to come by. I am going to take one of my workers. I'm going to put him here. I have to pay a bribe.
We'll put it in the bribe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, there you go.
And then take 5, and you get 2.
I get 2. It's a good way to spread the wealth there.
It is.
literally.
And then, let's see, do I want to do any of this? I think that I will go ahead and do 2 bombers.
All right.
And then I'll be done.
So there we go. All right, so it is back to my turn. And let's see. thanks to you,
Oh dear.
I can repair my remaining damage on this. So I'm going to put my worker there, pay my 5, and then repair that. So now what I can do is I'm going to, for here, I'm going to put scientist, and then my 8 yellow cake
You're gonna
to get
4.
4
Wow, all at
plutonium,
once.
all at one time. And then there's my yellow cake right there. But hold on a second before you do that. We're going to do a little debit purchase here because I'm going to put 3 workers on this mine. So I need 4 of those back. And then I'm going to put a construction worker on the factory to give me another piece of defense there. And then I'm going to put a construction worker on the university and a construction worker on the other university to give me another scientist and another construction worker. And then it'll be back to your turn.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just clear everybody. And that will turn it over to you.
All right. And we're getting kind of close to
We are,
getting
to
the end of
someone-
this game. So we're going to have to kind of see where we're at. So at this point, I'm looking at the board, and what I can do is, let's see, what do I need to have? So I've got, that's what I need to get 30. So what I'm going to do with this turn is I'm going to clear again. So I'm going to clear. So that guy goes back, these guys come back here, and that comes here, and now it's back to you. So
Okay.
let's see how fast we can get this maybe this last
Maybe
turn
we
out
should
here.
just say
So-
the first person to build a bomb or something. Okay, so I'm going to do my enrichment plant, which means I need to pay 2 scientists, 3 yellow cake, and 4 coins, and I get 2 uranium. Okay, and then, shoot, almost. I can almost do it. Well, wait a minute. And then I'm going to put a worker here on the board so that I can get another scientist.
All right.
Okay, now I'm going to build one of my bombs. So I need a scientist, 2 construction workers, 5 uranium. I'm going to drop back to 1 uranium, and I've got that bomb, and I'm going to pay 2 to load it. And I'm going to move my bomber back.
All right.
So I have a built bomb, and it's loaded.
And it's on a plane. And so I guess at that point, we're just going to kind of say, Scout, you won the game.
Well, can you build your bomb?
I could build my bomb on the next turn, but we're running out of time. But let's see if I can knock this out real quick. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 3 workers on this mine to give me 4 yellow cake. And nope, I don't have time. The time has run out on this bomb. It has been a time bomb. We've run out of time yet once again. But Scout, this was an amazing opportunity to play a fun game, learn a little bit about how games can connect to the classroom and through history. And once again, if you're interested, students, you can register for History Through Games
In the fall.
In the fall, it's available, and get a chance to play games like this and see how the Manhattan Project ties into history and games. Thanks for joining me, Scout.
Thank you for
And
having
thank
me.
you for joining us on this episode of History Through Games.